Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Math Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes. So we're going to talk about linear inequality graphing, all right? So please review previous video, especially on how to sketch a linear graph, because it's going to be exactly the same thing, but with just slight difference. So it's better you watch the previous video on that before coming to watch how to graph linear inequalities, all right? So like I always say, please don't forget to click on the subscription button as well as the notification bell. Also, if you have any question, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can send me an email and I will get back to you. Okay, so a linear inequality is like any linear equation, okay? It's like any linear equation, so like y is equal to 3x plus 2, okay? Any linear equation. But the only difference here is that we're going to have an inequality sign. So you can either have y is greater than 3x plus 2, or you can have greater or equal to, less than, or less than equal to. So that means instead of having the equal to sign, it's being replaced with any of these ones. Is that okay? And like I told you before, the inequality gives you the range of values, range of solutions, okay, that will satisfy this. So now the question will be, how will I sketch a linear inequality graph? Now there are 5 rules or 5 steps to do this, okay? If you want to sketch a linear graph, number 1, you have to rearrange, okay? So you have to rearrange the equation similarly to a line equation. So y will be on the left-hand side. Okay, so y will be on the left-hand side and everything else will be on the right-hand side. Okay, so you have to rearrange it so that y will be on the left-hand side and everything will be on the right-hand side. So it's going to be similar to the general line equation, y is equal to mx plus c. So you're going to leave your answer, all right, in the general line equation form. The y is equal to mx plus c. So in this case, you'll not be having the equal to sign. You're going to be having greater than, less than, or something like that. Number 2, you then have to sketch. So I've taught you this before. So you're going to sketch or plot the graph. Okay, I'll sketch the graph. But this time you ignore the inequality sign. So you ignore the inequality sign and you apply all the rules we've talked about. All right? Ignore the inequality sign and apply, okay, all rules. Talked about it before. So remember I told you for linear graphs, you need to find the x-intercept, you need to find the y-intercept, right? So we talk about, go back to the previous video and watch that. So you have discussed all rules, all right? Earlier, we've done all this earlier. In plotting or sketching, a linear graph. Okay? Then when you're done with this, the next thing is to replace the drawn line in step 2. So that means after sketching and you've drawn your line in step 2, step 3 now you have to replace the drawn line as needed based on the inequality sign. So that means if you have greater than equal to or less than equal to, you use a solid line. And if you have greater than or less than, you have to use a dashed dotted line. Okay. So when you're done with that, the next step, number 4. So number 4 is that you have to shade then the region that satisfies the inequality, or the region having the solutions. Okay? You shade the region having solutions based on the inequality sign. Okay? So if you have greater than equal to or greater than, okay? If you have to shade above, okay? You shade above the line. Okay, this is very important. All right? Now, if the inequality sign you had was less than or equal to or less than, then you have to what? Shade below the line. So the y f of x, okay? So if the inequality sign you have is less than or less than equal to, you shade below. If you have greater or greater than equal to, you shade what? Above, okay? So depending the values you have here will now determine, okay? But in some cases, but if the y or x variable is related to a constant, okay? But if the y or x variable is related to a constant only, okay? So for example, we have y is greater than 5, or you have x is less than 2, something like this. Now, here, okay, step 1 to 3 do not apply. So this part, all what we've talked about rearranging in y(x) plus c and everything, does not apply here, okay? I will explain. I'm going to solve an example, okay? But only draw a line. But only draw a line at x or y, okay? So for example, if you have greater than or less than, or let's say greater than equals or greater than, you shade to the right. So let's talk for x first. So you shade to the right. And if for x as well, you have less than or equal to or less than, you shade to the left. Okay, so this is when you have the x value, okay, related to a constant. Now, but if it's a y value, okay, if you have greater than or greater than, so you have greater than equal to or greater than, you shade above the line. Okay, and if you have less than or equal to or less than, then you shade what? Below the line. All right, so this is y constant. All right, So I'm going to pick an example now and explain these rules, using it as to explain the rules to you. So let's pick an example. Let's say example 1. All right, let's pick one example now. And let's say we are meant to solve y plus 1 is less than or equal to 2x. And we're meant to what? Sketch this graph. So the first rule said, rearrange the equation so y is on the left-hand side and every other thing is on the right-hand side. So let's go. So step 1, okay, we have y plus 1 is less than or equal to 2x. So following the rules, I'll take 1 to the other side. The sign will change, but the direction will not change. So it's very important to go and look at changing the directions of inequality sign. So I take it to the side, so it's going to be y is less than or equal to 2x minus 1. Okay, so this is the inequality equation we're going to use to sketch. Now, step 2, okay? So step 2 now said, what do we need to do? Step 2 said now we should now sketch. I believe is the sketching part. Step 2 now says, sketch the plot ignoring the inequality sign and apply all the rules discussed earlier in plotting a linear graph, okay? So I remember I told you, when you're plotting a linear graph, there are 2 things you need. You need a y-intercept, and as y-intercept, x is equal to what? 0. So we have y is equal to 2x minus 1. We put 0, so that means y will be equal to minus 1. So the intercept for this now is x is 0, y is minus 1. Then the x-intercept, we'll do the same thing. As the x-intercept, y is equal to 0. So we're going to have y, which is equal to 2x minus 1. You're going to have 0 is equal to 2x minus 1. Take 1 to the other side. So 1 is equal to 2x. And divide both sides by 2. Are you seeing it? So therefore, x will be equal to 1 over 2. Okay? X is equal to 1 over 2. So we can write this now as what? 1 over 2 and what? 0. So we found the y-intercept, and we'll find the x-intercept. Okay? The next one, step 3. Step 3 said that we should sketch it. Okay, we need to sketch this graph now. So we're going to have it like this. We have this. We have the x-intercept. Sorry, x-axis. We have the y-axis. So the first one, the y-intercept, is 0 and minus 1. So let's assume this is minus 1. And the x-intercept is half and 0. So let's say this is half here. Okay, so these are the 2 points. Okay, and we're drawing the line now for this. So straight, smooth line, joining both of them together. Now the next step, step 3. So the step 3 now says replace the drawn line in step 2, solid line if it's greater than or equal to. So if you look at the question, it was greater than or equal to, so we have to then maintain what? The solid line. So we're going to use solid line, all right? So we're maintaining the solid line. Step 4, shade the region having the solution base. So greater than, equal to, or greater than, we shade above the line. Less than, equal to, or less than, we shade below. So what do we have? We have less than and less than equal to, so we have to then shade what? Below. So that means for this one, the solutions for this equation is going to be below this line. And that will be that for that. Okay? So let's pick another example, example 2. So let's assume we're having y is less than what? 4. Now this, as you can see here, y is directly related to a constant. So that was the reason why we said step 5. If y or x variable is related to a constant only, like for instance, this example, hence the step 1 to 3 we just did does not apply or do not apply, but only draw a line at x or y. So that means let's go. We have y is less than 4. So what we do, this is our x-axis, this is our y-axis. So let's assume this is 4. So we're going to draw a line at 4. Okay, but like I told you, the same principle, if it's a solid line, okay, if it's a solid line, it has to be, so if it's a greater than equal to or less than equal to, use a solid line. If it's greater than or less than, you use a dashed line, okay? So you use a dashed line. So let's say step 1 to 2, okay? Step 1 to 2. So what do we have here? We have less than equal to, so we have to remove this and use a dashed line. So we're going to use a dashed line for this. So we use a dashed line. Right. A dashed line. Let me clean this. Yep. So we're going to use a dashed line now. So instead of having a solid line, we're going to use a dashed line here. Okay. Now, after that, we said if it's, so since we are talking about y, right? The question is y. So we're going to use the bottom part now. So it said if it's y, okay? If it's greater than or equal to, we shade above the line. And if it's less than or less than or equal to, you shade below the line. So if you look at this, we have less than, so we have to then shade what? Below the line. So that means the solution for this is going to be what? Below the line here. Okay? So you have to see if it's related to a constant, the way you solve it will not be the same thing. All right, let's pick another example as well. So let's assume in this case, example 3, we have, let's say x is greater than or equal to 1. So similarly, if it's related to a constant, I told you is that step 1 to 2 will not apply. So you just have to select from here. So he said you just draw a line at x. So we're going to draw this. Okay, have this. So this is x, and this is what? Y. So let's assume this is 1. So you're going to draw a line at this point here. Are you seeing it? Now, we're told as well that if a solid line, okay, is for greater than or equal to, dash dotted for less than. So if you look at the question here, it's greater than or equal to, so it's fine. We have to use a strong line. Next part, we're told that if for C, if it's greater than or equal to, you shade to the right. If it's less than, you shade to the left. So when you go back to this as well, you will see that this is greater than, so we have to shade what? To the right. So that means the solutions for this is going to be on this part of the what? The inequalities. All right, so that'll be that for that. So number 4. Okay, so example 4, which is gonna be the last one. Okay, so let's assume we have y over 2 plus 2 is greater than what? X. Okay, so as usual, like I said, you have to leave this in the form of y is equal to mx plus c format. All right, so that was the first rule. The first rule said you need to rearrange, so y is on the left-hand side and every other thing on the right-hand side. Okay, so let's do that. So we have step 1. Okay, so we have y over 2 plus 2 is greater than x. All right, then in order to remove this 2, I multiply both sides by 2, or better still, I can take 2 to the other side first. So it's going to give me y over 2 greater than x minus what? 2. Okay, so what do I do now? To remove this, I multiply both sides by what? 2. I multiply everything by what? 2. So it's going to give me y is greater than 2x minus 4. All right, so this is that. Then step 2, I need to sketch it. So remember I said in step 2, ignore the inequality sign, all right, and sketch it normally as you would have, okay? So just ignore the inequality sign and just sketch. So let's assume that the question was y is equal to 2x minus 4, and you are told to sketch this. So the first thing you have to do, you have to first find the x-intercept. So x-intercept, as x-intercept, y is equal to 0. So you're going to put y equal to 0 and solve for x. You take 4 to the other side. So 4 is equal to 2x. Divide both sides by 2. So x will be equal to what? 2. Then also x equal to 2. So you're going to be 2, 0. All right. Then the y-intercept, at y-intercept, x is equal to 0. So that means all this will be equal to 0. So y will be equal to minus 4. So that means it's going to give us 0, minus 4. All right. So we've talked about this earlier. So please go back and look at this. So this is the coordinates for the x and y intercept. So step 3 then is that we're now told that we now have to sketch it. So I think step 2. So we're going to sketch this now. We're going to sketch this. All right. So we're going to have x is 2, y is 0. Let's assume it's somewhere here. This is 2, x is 2, y is 0. X is minus what? 4, right? So let's assume minus 4 is somewhere here. Is that okay? So remember, like I told you in the previous video, is that we are just what? Sketching. So this is the line. If this was a y is equal to 2x minus 4. Now, what's the next thing? Step 3, we have to replace the drawn line as needed based on the inequality sign. If it's a equal to, greater than equal to, you use a solid line. If it's a greater than or less than, you use a dashed dotted line. So let's look at it. Step 3, we have a what? Can you see? Greater than. So that means for step 3, what we need to use here should be a dashed dotted line. Okay? So dashed dotted line, let's go. So let's see if we can clean this. A dashed dotted line. Okay? So a dashed dotted line. So we'll move this. We're going to put a dashed dotted line now to replace this. It's going to look like this. A dashed dotted line instead. All right. Then, when we're done with that, the next step said, after you do that, if you shade above the line if it's greater than or equal to, okay? Or you shade below the line if it's greater than or less than. So what do we have here? We have greater than, so we have to shade above the line. So for these inequalities, where the solutions is going to be above this line here. So it's going to be above the line. So the solutions for these inequalities is going to be above the line. All right, so that is that for that. All right. So like I said, you can solve more questions from the worksheet or from the textbook, and that is how you find what? So you graph linear inequalities. So the next video, we're going to see, okay, now how do you now solve linear inequalities? Okay, how do you now solve linear inequalities? And all right, before you come to the next video, make sure you know the rules about the changing of inequalities directions and stuff like that. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know or send me a message, and I'll try as much as possible to get back to you. And don't forget to like and subscribe and click the notification bell, so when I post the new videos, you'll be the first person to know. So see you soon, and I'll see you when we start talking about how to solve linear inequalities.